Tougher consumer protection measures take effect. A $17 million ivory smuggling case. And America's Motor City going bust.
Good evening. Booksellers took extra precaution at the book fair today to ensure they're not providing misleading or false information to customers. Many other businesses are doing the same. That's because the revised Trade Descriptions Ordinance took effect today, and anyone caught breaching the new rules will be prosecuted. Rani Samtani has our top story.
Lowest price, best price, and best-selling signs were notably absent at the book fair today. This sign originally read, "Special offer today," but was later covered up after customs officers told the exhibitor that it was misleading. They say consumers might think that this was the last day of the sale. An exhibitor said they had made large signboards advertising best price and super sale, but that they would not be able to use them anymore. He believes the new amendments are too strict, and because customs officers have not been clear about what the booksellers can advertise, many exhibitors are confused. Amendments to the Trade Descriptions Ordinance took effect today. Earlier this week, the Customs and Excise Department handed out leaflets to exhibitors reminding them of the new rules. And the department plans to continue monitoring at the book fair to ensure exhibitors comply with them. Meanwhile, some supermarkets and travel agencies have revised phrases and words used in advertisements. However, we found ads in newspapers today that show products still making claims without giving evidence to back them up. Under the amendments, if a merchant cannot provide evidence to support claims about a product or service, it will amount to false description or misleading information. The Customs and Excise Department has stressed there will be no grace period for goods or service providers.
Items such as baby milk powder that sells itself on nutritional claims without scientific proof are now illegal. Any store caught selling a product or service that breaches the new laws will be prosecuted. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
Well, customs officers have seized more than $17 million worth of ivory tusks. Authorities say smugglers tried to avoid detection by using an uncommon shipping route. No arrests have been made so far. Evelyn Leung tells us more.
These 1,148 pieces of ivory tusks worth $17.4 million were discovered by customs officers in Kwai Chung yesterday. Weighing more than 2,000 kilograms, they were concealed in a 20-foot container. The ivory tusks were found in 30 nylon bags inside the container that had arrived from the West African nation of Togo. Customs officers say smugglers tried to use a different shipping route to avoid detection.
From 2010 up till now, we have effected 10 smuggling of ivory truck cases. In the past 9 cases, the routings normally from the Tanzania, East Africa, through Singapore, Malaysia to Hong Kong. But this case is very special. They use a new routing, a more long routing from Togo, West Africa to Morocco to Hong Kong.
Among the items seized, small tusks from young elephants.
According to the experts, it is small tusks from very young babies. That means when we look at thousands of these tusks, we understand that there are thousands of elephants were killed for nothing.
Authorities have yet to determine the final destination of these smuggled ivory tusks. Evelyn Leung, TVB News.
Supporters and opponents of government plans to redevelop the Northeast New Territories staged rival rallies today as the Secretary for Development attended a district council meeting to discuss the issue. Paul Chan was greeted by protesters before the start of the North District Council meeting. He reiterated once again the project is needed to meet the housing needs of the people of Hong Kong. Chan stressed the government will take care of those affected by redevelopment. But some district councillors said the administration can't just sacrifice the residents' interests for the sake of the project. Others, meanwhile, complain that the government has ignored the feelings of residents who may not have been vocal in voicing their opposition.
Turning overseas now, the U.S. city of Detroit has filed the largest municipal bankruptcy in American history. The filing, which had been feared for months, sets the stage for a costly court battle with creditors and could mean massive layoffs. Alan Bookneer files this report.
This is a situation that's been 60 years in the making in terms of the decline of Detroit. From a financial point of view, let me be blunt. Detroit's broke.
Its finances ravaged, Detroit's neighborhoods are now hollowed out by a slow decline in population and auto manufacturing that once made it a symbol of American might. Kevin Orr, the city's appointed emergency finance manager, said Detroit has been spiraling down in an unsustainable circle of borrowing and deferred payments. It now owes $18.5 billion, which it can't possibly pay.
If we took $200 million off a $1 billion budget, 68 years, assuming no accrued interest and no additional debt, with no other services for that $200 million.
The bankruptcy filing still has to be approved by the federal court. Then begin the negotiations with Detroit's thousands of creditors who could be forced to accept pennies on the dollar for their investments. It also means people who invested in the city's pension fund scheme could see their life savings battered.
They think Detroit is a dump. You know, they don't even, now, they ain't no more respect. It's a dump now. You know, a big old Detroit can't even have their own business. That's sad.
Well, they've had enough time to straighten it out, so I guess, as they say, if you can't handle it themselves, someone else will, so I guess they did.
Detroit's bankruptcy was filed under Chapter 9, which includes municipalities. Unlike corporate bankruptcies, there have been few Chapter 9 cases. Since there's been little precedent, and given the number of creditors, it means a complicated road ahead for Motown. Alan Bookneer, TVB News.
A Russian court has released opposition leader Alexei Navalny from custody 1 day after he was convicted of embezzlement and jailed for 5 years. It's been seen as a way to calm the situation after thousands took to the streets last night to vent their anger at the verdict. Alexei Navalny has a chance to regain his bearings after a Russian court temporarily released the opposition leader from custody today. Still, it's not like he's exactly out of the woods, as the court also imposed travel restrictions while he awaits the outcome of an appeal against his 5-year jail sentence. Prosecutors unexpectedly asked for Navalny, one of President Vladimir Putin's biggest critics, to be allowed to wait the appeal process at home in Moscow. The prosecution said because Navalny is running for mayor of Moscow, keeping him in custody would deny him his right to seek election. Yesterday, Navalny was convicted of theft charges after being found guilty of embezzling funds from a state-owned company back in 2009. The decision triggered protests throughout Russia, while the European Union and the United States voiced their concern.
Everything okay? Navalny's harsh prison sentence is the latest example of a disturbing trend of government actions aimed at suppressing dissent in civil society in Russia. The numerous procedural shortcomings in this case also reinforce our broader concerns about rule of law in Russia.
There is very little doubt that such decisions are taken at the very top of the Russian power. The Russian government decided to get rid of a political challenger by locking him up in jail. And this is a first such case of an unambiguously political motive behind this court decision.
The decision to allow Navalny to stay at home pending his appeal could be intended to appease opposition activists who protested in their thousands against the verdict overnight. Scores of people were detained during the rallies. A military judge in the US has refused to dismiss the most serious charge against American soldier Bradley Manning, who's accused of giving large details of classified information to whistleblowing website WikiLeaks. As he arrived in court yesterday, Manning found out that the charge of aiding the enemy would still stand against him. Manning could get life in prison without parole if he found guilty of that. The judge denied defense motions to acquit him of that charge, as well as one on computer fraud, saying the government had presented some evidence to support both accusations. The whistleblower faces more than 20 counts of charges.
And when we come back, the US wants genuine dialogue with North Korea. Zach Johnson leads after round one of British Open, and a new Bruce Lee exhibition.
Welcome back. The Obama administration says it's ready to engage in dialogue with North Korea, but only if Pyongyang is prepared for genuine negotiations and commits to giving up its nuclear ambitions. North Korea has offered to hold talks with the United States amid easing tensions on the Korean peninsula.
Now North Korea is calling for dialogue. As my mother would say, I've seen this movie before. We've been there before. But we are ready. We are ready. But only if North Korea is prepared to engage in genuine negotiations. We will not countenance North Korea's pattern of provoking a crisis and then insisting they be rewarded in order to cease and desist.
Biden also encouraged China and ASEAN nations to speed up talks to resolve territorial disputes in the South China Sea. Well, thousands of cheering supporters greeted Cambodian opposition leader Sam Rainsy as he returned from self-imposed exile today. Sam Rainsy vowed to rescue the nation as he rode the back of a pickup truck, driving through the throng of supporters. A former finance minister, he was sentenced to more than 10 years in prison in 2010 on charges of spreading misinformation. He had already fled the country the year before. Sam Rainsy received a royal pardon last week at the request of the Cambodian Prime Minister. The move was seen to fend off international criticism of Cambodia's leader of 28 years after allegations of electoral misconduct. The two will now square off in a July 28th general election, but critics give Sam Rainsy little chance of winning, arguing that Hun Sen manipulates the levers of government and the judiciary.
A top U.S. military official says the White House is considering whether to use force to end the Syrian civil war, which has dragged on for more than 2 years. With President Bashar al-Assad's forces making new gains and the rebels hamstrung by infighting, the situation gets ever more desperate as the outside world dithers over how to resolve the conflict. NBC News reports.
Touring a sprawling refugee camp 8 miles from the Syrian border, John Kerry got an earful. More than a month after President Obama promised to arm the opposition, no weapons have been sent. Refugees pleaded with Kerry, "What are you waiting for?" demanding a no-fly zone to stop Assad's fighter jets and Scud missiles.
I think they're frustrated and angry at the world for not stepping in and helping.
Why the delay? As rebel factions fight each other and al-Qaeda gains influence, Congress is afraid the weapons will get into the wrong hands.
If you're going to put the good name of the United States at risk, you better do it right. Again, I was arguing for something earlier to prevent what we now know as a rising al-Qaeda membership, some 6,000 in the country.
As the rebels falter, Assad has cemented his control over central Syria with weapons from Russia and Iran and Hezbollah fighters.
It is the nation's policy that Assad must go.
If nothing changes, if we don't change our game, will he be in power a year from now?
I think likely so.
And this makeshift camp is now semi-permanent, Jordan's 5th largest city. Population 120,000, 30,000 of them children. Light years from the debates in Washington. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News, Washington.
Back in Hong Kong, 2 residents of Tin Soi Wai are still in critical condition after coming down with a viral brain disease that's spread by mosquitoes. Health officials are now going to rural areas in the New Territories to step up pest control measures. Rachel Lung reports.
Fong Kong Chun in Yuen Long, one of the government's targeted mosquito control areas. Earlier, health officials found concentrated numbers of mosquito species which spreads Japanese encephalitis, a viral brain disease that can be fatal. Local residents complained there's a serious mosquito problem here. This resident said they are huge and getting stung by one is like getting an injection. This resident said it's worst at night and it's almost impossible to describe how dense the swarms are. Nearby in Tin Shui Wai, residents are on high alert after 2 men in their 50s were infected there this month, the first 2 cases reported so far this year. Health department officials held a talk this afternoon to educate the community on avoiding infection. The public was told to avoid being outdoors at dusk and dawn in rural areas and to use mosquito repellent. This woman said she will wear long sleeves when outside from now on. But this mother said not even repellent works. She said her kids get badly bitten just from opening a window and won't let them play in the park now. Worried about the 2 cases infected in the area over the past 3 days, Tinshui residents are urging for the government to step up mosquito control, especially in places like this NOLA, which they say is a hotbed for disease-spreading pests. Rachel Lang, TVB News.
A driving instructor was taken to hospital today after he fainted while delivering a speech at a LegCo meeting. It happened when the leader of the Hong Kong School of Motoring Driving Instructors Union was slamming the government's licensing system for instructors. João da Silva has more.
Dramatic moments at today's meeting of the LegCo Transport Panel.
I've been an instructor for 24 years, and 2 years afterwards I'll be useless. I can't do anything because the license will be invoked. This is an unjust government.
On the agenda were 8 proposals put forth by the Transport Department to amend the existing driving instructor licensing system. Another option is to keep the status quo. Lin, who had tried to commit suicide in the past to highlight his plight, expressed his indignation at the current system, which dictates that after he retires from the motoring school, he will lose his license and be unable to work in a private capacity, a view shared by many in the same situation.
The DDS doesn't have a franchise. It should not be allowed to control all its employees. And we have already accumulated so much experience. We should not just be working for one company only.
So, if our experience is not recognized upon leaving the company to bully us.
But others defended the selection process for private instructors, which includes a draw and rigorous examinations. They directed their anger at instructors at designated driving schools.
Some people do not have to go through the lot drawing process before they get the PDI license. I don't agree with this practice because this is like queue jumping. Queue jumping is rude.
Although this issue has polarized the driving instruction industry, the government has pledged to continue gathering the opinions of different stakeholders. But legislators want a decision on the matter to be made before the year's end. João da Silva, TVB News.
So, Tony, anything exciting in sports today?
Well, we got golf, the 3rd golfing major of the year, and it's well underway, and people are wondering, is Tiger going to do well this year? And an American does lead after the first round of the British Open, but it's not Tiger Woods. He is, though, in the mix on the day of survival at a windy and fast Murrayfield. Jameson Wong has more.
The world #1 recovered from a rough start literally and finds himself in contention after the first round. Woods' opening tee shot went wayward, but he hacked out of the thick brush for a bogey. He then birdied 3 of the first 4 holes on the back 9 and finished with a 2 under 69 and is only 3 back of the lead.
And that's the thing about links golf, you just don't know. And you know, wind actually changes with the tide, when the tide goes in and out. So you just got to be prepared for all of it and be fluid in your course adjustments.
Fellow American and former Masters champ Zach Johnson leads at 5 under par. Defending champ Ernie Els is at +3. This can't be good, and it wasn't. A spectator, though, got a golf ball. And Rory's woes continue. The world #2 shot an opening round 79. McIlroy will have to go low today just to make the cut. He went from green to bunker here and said he felt brain dead out there. And shot of the day from Thomas Bjorn, who got some revenge on the media. He'll probably say it was worth the errant shot as long as he doesn't have to pay for a new camera lens. Jameson Wong, TVB News.
In cricket, England were at 289 for 7 at the close of day 1 of the second Ashes Test at Lord's. Leg spinner Steve Smith took 3 late wickets for Australia, while England batsman Ian Bell hit his 3rd straight Ashes 100. Earlier, Queen Elizabeth met both teams at the home of cricket. Her last visit to Lord's was back in 2009. Former Australian Prime Minister John Howard sat with the monarch to watch the match. England lead the 5-match series 1-0 after their thrilling victory at Trent Bridge over the weekend.
And finally, tomorrow will mark 40 years since Hong Kong's most famous martial arts star died a sudden death at the young age of 32. And to commemorate Bruce Lee, fans can go soak up the philosophy of his martial arts at the biggest exhibition on the hero the city has seen. It opens tomorrow at the Heritage Museum in Sha Tin. The legend lives. Through 3D projection, a life-size Bruce Lee shows off the power of his kung fu. The iconic yellow jumpsuit from The Game of Death rings up his fierce howls. And did you know the action star was responsible for the choreography seen in these images he drew for each fight scene in Enter the Dragon? An earlier attempt to turn Lee's former home in Kowloon Tong into a museum failed. Apart from a statue in Tsim Sha Tsui, there's little about him around the city where the artist and philosopher grew up. But thanks to the Bruce Lee Foundation and the Heritage Museum in Sha Tin, the public can now get to know him better.
Obviously, I think there's always more that can be done, but I think Hong Kong has done quite an amazing job. I don't think there's any other city that has certainly not mounted an exhibition of this manner.
Want to see how he did as a student in school and what shaped his philosophy on martial arts? For the next 5 years, the exhibition will feature more than 600 precious relics on loan from collectors and institutions around the world that'll show us Lee's life story and how he became a cultural phenomenon. Anxious fans will have to book tickets online first because space is limited for visitors to comfortably appreciate Bruce Lee, Kung Fu, art, life. Well, hopefully they'll pave the way for a proper museum in Hong Kong.
Yep, I'll definitely go down and take a look. Looks really good.
Yeah, me too. Well, that's the news for tonight. Thanks for watching.
Good night.
Good evening. It was mainly cloudy today with thundery showers in the morning. At 5 p.m., showers were affecting the eastern coast of Guangdong and the northern part of the South China Sea. Today's temperatures ranged from 25.5 to 29.4 degrees, and the current temperature is now standing at 26.8 degrees Celsius, and the relative humidity is 98%. Sorry. And cloudy with squally showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. Temperatures will range from 26 to 29 degrees, and there will still be showers and thunderstorms in the following few days. Tomorrow's API is forecast at 15 to 75, and the air pollution level will range from low to high. The maximum UV index forecast for tomorrow will be about 5. And now to the latest global weather update. Cloudy in Shanghai, showers in Taipei, thunderstorms in Xiamen. Rain in Guangzhou, thunderstorms in Macau, cloudy in Chengdu. Cloudy in Beijing, Seoul, and Tokyo. Thunderstorms in Bangkok, rain in Ho Chi Minh City and Manila. Showers in Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, and Jakarta. Thunderstorms in New Delhi, showers in Karachi, rain in Mumbai. Sunny in Cairo, bright in Nairobi. Showers in Brisbane and Melbourne, sunny in Sydney, cloudy in Auckland. Cloudy in Toronto, thunderstorms in New York. Sunny in Vancouver, bright in San Francisco and Los Angeles. And it's bright in London and Amsterdam, sunny in Paris and Zurich, cloudy in Frankfurt. And that's weather. Have a lovely weekend.